Thank you for joining us today. I call the June 16th meeting of the
And that's the 19th.
January 19th meeting of the Human Rights Commission to order. Let's begin with an introduction of commission members, starting with Saku.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sekou Sirleaf, Commissioner.
Sarah Boonstoppel, Commissioner.
Nancy Boyle, Commissioner.
Cheryl Schafel, Commissioner.
Barry Nelson, Commissioner.
Cody Severson, Chair.
Carolyn Beecraft, Commissioner.
Jacqueline Dotsenrod, Commissioner.
All right, thank you, folks. Next item on the agenda is to talk about the agenda. A couple changes that we're going to make. First up here, though, is I believe for Commissioner Dotsenrod, we're going to switch items 7 and 8.
Yep.
To reorder those two. And then for item number 9, we're going to table David Hoganson's discussion point as of right now, and then move into number 9 as Cheryl Schafel's item regarding committees.
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 To set up a committee or task force to determine which committees we should use.
Okay. So those are the changes that we're going to make as of right now to the agenda items. And then I would like to approve those then. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda in that order?
So approved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carried. The next item that we have is to approve or amend the minutes from the last meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes, please?
I'll make a motion.
Can
And
I get-
second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so number 4 on the list, we're going to have an update from Red River Children's Advocacy Center. Can I ask you to come to the podium and deliver that, please?
Hi, thank you. Thank you for inviting me here to speak today. I am from the Red River Children's Advocacy Center. My name is Sarah Matthews, and I am the new executive director. I just started in April. We have a location here in Fargo where we see children, and we have a location in Grand Forks that we have newly renovated and increased space at. Our mission is to help children heal and gain justice from the abuse that they have endured. So our goal is to train parents, educators, and other professionals in our community on signs of abuse and prevention techniques. These techniques are helping children to succeed and help us to make a better community for all. I want to take a moment, instead of boring you with statistics, to tell you about a story of a child who has attended our center recently. Emma is age 7. She recently disclosed allegations of sexual abuse happening in her home by her mother's boyfriend. Her mother did not believe her and had felt that she had nowhere to turn, as the boyfriend was their financial support. This caused stress on Emma and her mother's relationship. Emma was removed from her mother's home and placed in the custody of her aunt. Once in the custody of her aunt, Emma came to our center to tell us her experience of her sexual abuse at the hands of her mom's boyfriend over the past 6 months. Emma disclosed allegations of witnessing domestic violence, psychological abuse, and child pornography perpetrated by this man. Emma's remarkable account at our center included information that allowed law enforcement to seize evidence at mom's home and corroborated Emma's allegations. Because of Emma's courage and the services that our center provides, Emma was able to continue living with her aunt and is working on being able to go home with her mother. With the evidence provided in her interview, the boyfriend has been criminally charged on all accounts. Through our family advocacy services, Mom was provided resources and supports to overcome barriers that were in their way. Emma's now participating in our trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, and we make sure to schedule their therapy appointments around school and around Mom's work schedule. Our staff also worked with Mom on parenting skills and gave her many other resources from other nonprofits and other resources in our area that they needed. Emma's doing better in school now that the abuse has stopped, and she has better relationship now with her mom because she was believed. Emma, like so many other kids seen at the Red River Children's Advocacy Center, have benefited from being able to come to our center, tell their story, be heard, and someone believing them, and taking turn to stop the abuse. Emma is one in 844 children and youth that have been served by our center in 2022. At this time, her mother said, "I cannot thank you all enough for how you've helped our family. At the beginning of all of this, I thought there was no way I could overcome my daughter being sexually abused. Now it seems like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Your work is truly amazing, and I am thankful for your services and that they are available to families like ours." As frontline responders to child abuse, neglect, and exploitation, we see our center as an absolute necessity. In fact, 1 in 7 children before the age 18 will be abused. This will cost society over $200,000 per victim over their lifetime to get services that they need to heal. With those staggering statistics, we want to continue to make an impact in our area by raising more awareness so that we can have an even larger impact on our community. In 2023, we are going to continue our amazing post-trauma services, and also we are going to be restoring our prevention project, Stand to Protect. The project was originally created in collaboration with our partners, parents, educators, and other community professionals to teach people signs of sexual abuse and prevention techniques. The project was just getting into its prime when we had to let it go due to the pandemic. But with getting this project up and rolling now, we want to reach 9 counties this year because those are the main counties that we see. We actually serve over 48 counties in the area. And this training is going to be free of cost for community members, businesses, and anybody who wants access to this prevention training. These efforts, we hope to see over the next several years a decrease in our state's child sexual abuse cases because we will have provided community with exceptional education and resources on child sexual abuse. We do, however, realize that abuse will never fully dissipate, and unfortunately, our post-trauma services will always be necessary. However, our amazing team of professionals will do their best, and we will continue to shine even in the darkest of times to help these kids heal and seek justice. You may ask how one can possibly shine with such dark subject matter as a job. But if you remember Emma's experience with us at our center, you can see that our center can help children shine even in the darkest of their days. Thank you. Any questions?
Questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair? I'm very excited about the training programs that you guys have in place or that you're working on promoting. I know there's a lot of mandated reporters in our community, teachers, police officers, lots of people in authority, but many of those mandated reporters don't have training to recognize the signs of childhood SA. Can you tell us a little bit about what agencies or what types of professionals you'll be working on training?
Yeah, actually, we don't have a list currently of anybody who has reached out for the training. The training that has been developed actually has been developed by several doctors in the area, as well as some of our mental health therapists at our center. And we were working on getting an evidence-based training before the pandemic hit, and we did have the statistics to do so. However, that fell to the wayside with the pandemic, and we were unable to get that passed through. So it's evidence-informed, and we do hope to reach schools, any business or organization that would have us, as well as organizations that serve children. It's our goal also to teach them and show them the ways on how they can update their policies and procedures to ensure that this doesn't happen at their camp or their facility or organization, because it does happen, The grooming techniques that these perpetrators do use is gaining access to those children first and foremost. So that's where we'll focus on our first efforts.
So if an organization wanted to access this training, how would they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, so I passed out some pamphlets and information to you guys earlier, and I left some on the back at the door area as well. You can call our center anytime and just have a discussion with probably Linda. She'll probably be answering the phone, and she would be happy to get you in touch with someone from our center who is trained to be able to come out and provide that type of training. It's a 1-hour training, and I hope to have follow-up trainings as well throughout the year. A goal of mine personally is to have multiple trainings and make it mandatory for businesses, and just hopefully they'll just incorporate that into their onboarding.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation. It was excellent.
Thank you.
Do you work with school systems?
Not currently. I actually do have a meeting on Friday with some of the school board and superintendents, and so I want to talk to them about this effort and see if they would be on board.
And what about childcare centers?
Yep, that is definitely on our list. I know that's a large need in our area. I know that there are several things in the news currently about child care facilities and the lack thereof and not enough staffing. And so the importance of reporting and knowing how to take a break and knowing when you're at burnout and things like that. So that will also be incorporated.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you for such a wonderful presentation. What's the extent of your publicity? I mean, we are here and we managed to get these, but how does the larger community, found you? How do they reach you? How do they know about your programs?
Very good question. Being that I am new, social media and advertising and getting our center's name out there has been the forefront of my focus currently. When I first started at the center, I didn't know it existed. And I was shocked. It was founded 18 years ago by community members, and for me not to know that, and I've been born and raised in Fargo my whole life, it astounded me that I thought I knew about everything in the area, and I didn't. And so once I realized I didn't, and I started talking to more people about the center, and they didn't know about it, I knew that my effort first and foremost needed to be to get the word out that we exist. And that we're here and that we have other things to offer and that we are going to try to go out of business by providing prevention training because that's what we really ultimately are striving to do. And so that's where our focus is right now, is in the prevention and awareness. And that's kind of what we are trying to accomplish with our radio advertisements. We now have a heavy social media following that's growing every day. So.
Yeah, because social media is good, but nowadays, lots of young people, when they go on social media, they're not looking for children advocacy center. They're looking for TikTok. They're looking for people dancing,
Yep.
So their attention is not on these kind of things. So I think you can partner with other groups within the community that, have similar goals or ideas. You got religious organizations, you got, schools and other places where people might be interested in this. Have you thought about those?
Yes, actually, myself and we just hired a development director as well to help me with these efforts because it is a vast community and a lot of people live here. And so in order for us to get in front of all the businesses and all of the people to inform them of our center and what we do, which is the goal, her and I will be having meetings with several organizations, other nonprofits, churches. We have board members that serve in the community as well. We're having them reach out to people to let them know, to kind of scream our name from the rooftop and how everybody can get a hold of us.
And from my understanding, many of your referrals come directly from Child Protective Services, possibly law enforcement, that have been the ones to respond to that of the concern. Within that, not so much a question, but that of an accolade. not only thank you for the presentation, thank you for the commitment to the work. You had said that when you shared as well, this isn't work that most people go into for all the rewards. The rewards come with that of knowing that voice is heard. So thank you for that commitment, the passion, and not giving up, because I
Yeah,
know it's
thank
not
you.
easy. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I'd also like to thank you for coming here today and sharing your work with us. And I have a suggestion. I don't know if you're open to
Open to
this
all
possibility or not.
suggestions.
For daycares, especially licensed daycares, the employees who are there, to be licensed, they have to go through certain training. And my recommendation would be to contact whichever governmental organization it is that does the licensing
Yep.
to get your training in their list of mandatory training.
Yep.
And it's not a one-shot training. The employees have to re-up their training on it like an annual basis.
Yep. Yep. I'm actually very familiar with that. I come from a different center that provided daycare services that were licensed daycares. And so I'm actually very familiar with some of the daycare licensing women that are out there licensing daycares currently. And so that's on our to-do list, as well as infiltrate daycare centers trainings and ongoing training credits that they need as well. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you for the presentation.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Next item up on the agenda is to talk about Ahmed Shil and his transition from our vice chair over to his new role as a DEI coordinator beside Dr. Hogan. Congratulations on the change, the new role.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to have served with you guys. I know the work that you do is meaningful to the community and the impact that you create and the voices that you carry. So thank you for your commitment and volunteering and to be part of Human Rights Commission.
Thank you. And then I think that during our working sessions in the future, we'll probably delve into how we're adjusting to what your role encompasses and how we interact with that. And then also piggybacking off of that, now we have the new nominations committee, Commissioners Sarah and Carolyn, and I wanted to give the floor to you if you have an update on how we're doing that.
We are, like Cody said, Sarah and I are co-chairing the nominations committee to fill Ahmed's shoes. But we haven't, because our terms are start in June, we have a commission member who has graciously said that he would step in as vice chair, our former chair, Matur. And that gives us time and it keeps us on cycle.
It was just for today.
Well, hang in there, we're almost to June. We'll work on this, okay.
I think, we're hoping to have the nominations by next month, I think.
All right,
So
we can
just-
work on this. But thank you, it gives us time.
Yes.
All right, and thank you, Matur.
Thank you.
And I think we can add that if anybody wants to nominate, I guess, I don't know if the nominations come from us or outside, but please contact either Carolyn or I with your nomination. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, Matur, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but people can just nominate others.
I think how it works is like they will contact the person that is nominated, and if they have time and the commitment,
Yeah,
and then we'll come and make it official.
that's how
Have
we've
to
done it in
reach
the
out to them.
past.
Anybody else have questions on that update?
And perhaps just a clarification, Chairman, I believe, I don't know if it's by practice or by design, that the vice chair, in a sense, is recruited to eventually step into the chair role. And
That's
when that transition occurs, so.
That is correct. Several years ago, we voted that the vice chair and the chair would have two-year terms. Now, this will be a little bit shorter probably, but that the vice chair then would step up to be a chair. So by taking on the vice chair, it really is a 4-year commitment.
Okay, that covers 5 and 6 then. If we want to move into Commissioner Dotson-Rod's for the carryover item.
Yes, on ordinance 10-0322 regarding harassment.
Yes.
So at our previous meeting, we made a recommendation to the Fargo City Commission to remove the word intent from the city ordinance. And as I learned afterwards, after consulting some legal experts, I learned that the word intent does have to be in the verbiage. There are benefits to sending the cases of harassment immediately to the county state's attorney, as opposed to having the city prosecutor handle those cases. And in the city commission meeting, the city prosecutor even did confirm that that would be an option for the city to pursue as a policy. I feel like the big lesson I learned here is that we could really benefit from being able to consult legal counsel before making recommendations to the city commission. That way we don't have to bounce things back and forth and back and forth. And unfortunately, I did reach out to the city attorney's office, and they're just not able to respond to requests from all of the subcommittees. So I guess just in my mind, and maybe there's some solutions in the heads of other people at this panel, but how can we get some legal counsel on these issues before we send them up the chain to the city commission, just so they're all polished and ready to go. And I know the planning commission, they recently proposed an ordinance change to the city commission, and that went right through. And I'm sure that they had legal counsel on that before it was pushed up the ladder. So, so after the commissioners heard our proposal, I think it was Commissioner Preston suggested that we study the issue further and then come back with another recommendation. And that might be, study the issue specifically of domestic violence. And that might be appropriate to discuss under subcommittees when we get to that item on the agenda.
Just want to interject myself as well when we're talking harassment, also being aware when we're looking at domestic violence law and orders for protection or domestic violence protective orders, there may be some different verbiage in moving forward with that of an order for protection. So just being cognizant of the fact harassment might be one law, and then also looking specific to DV law as well. So we're making sure the impact that we want to make, or that intent in the impact that we want to make, that we're crossing all T's and dotting all I's.
Absolutely, and that is an important observation. Is when survivors need an order for protection, it does help to have charges of harassment in that case history. It supports the order for protection. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of pieces, but I'm not going to make a recommendation today because I do want to have some legal review on this before I send anything else up to City Commission. But with what I know today, I do think that the city should be sending harassment cases just directly to the Cass County State's Attorney for processing.
And can you just elaborate the difference?
Oh, there's a lot of differences. Thank you, Carolyn. So the cases of harassment are a Class B misdemeanor, and those can be processed either in municipal court, which is the city, or district court, which is the county. When these cases go to city court, they don't have as many options in terms of prosecuting these cases as the state's attorney would have. Another option that the state's attorney would have, if the situation is appropriate, they can even charge it as a Class C felony, terrorizing. And another benefit of sending these cases to district court is, we often have a lot of repeat offenders. So if those offenders can all be heard in the same court, it just simplifies the process, I believe. So, and I do see members of our police department here, and I just want to express my appreciation. They really helped educate me on some of these issues. So, yeah, and I appreciate other people in the community who have helped me understand the issue better.
Just the question, Jacqueline, the reference 10-0322, that was actually the newly, relatively new ordinance on hate crime, correct? So it was attributed back to that. I mean, it's,
Yes.
there's certainly attributes to domestic violence, but also hate crime. So it kind of
Yes.
was, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Should we go into the wheelchair transportation accessibility?
Yes. So I wanted to bring the matter of wheelchair accessible transportation to you all. I believe that our staff sent out an email in advance. It's a piece that I wrote about what people with disabilities, the issues that we have to contend with on a daily basis, just completing basic tasks like getting around town. And one issue that I wanted to bring to the table today is right now, Fargo-Moorhead has no affordable options for short notice wheelchair accessible transportation. So this means things like calling for a ride share or calling for a cab. Our community does do a great job of having wheelchair accessible transportation that can be scheduled in advance and that runs during the weekdays. But when it comes to transportation service in the later hours, night, and over the weekends, options are extremely limited, if non-existent. So when I started thinking about this problem, I thought about approaching it from a couple angles. I did make attempts to reach out to Uber and Lyft. Both of these rideshare services do have wheelchair accessible vehicle programs in several cities throughout the United States. And my attempts to reach out to them were to see what could we do to bring those wheelchair accessible vehicle programs to Fargo. Unfortunately, I was not able to connect with anyone who was actually able to communicate with me. I just got bounced around from customer service member to customer service member. So another issue with rideshare services, as I was doing my research, I also discovered that some of them are currently facing a class action lawsuit because some of their drivers assault and kidnap their customers. And I certainly don't want to put vulnerable people with disabilities at risk. But I really like the way that the city of Bismarck has attacked this problem. The city of Bismarck, they require, as part of their business licensing practice for taxi services, they require these businesses to have at least one wheelchair accessible van as part of their fleet, as well as drivers trained in their use. Now, I have reached out to a couple cab services in town to see if any are voluntarily pursuing wheelchair accessible vehicle transport options. And some of them are. They're looking into it, but they're not yet implementing those services. And there's no mandate, and there's no deadline, and priorities could change. And I feel very strongly that if Bismarck can have an ordinance or maybe not an ordinance, but a policy in place that requires our taxi services to have wheelchair accessible transportation, it stands to reason that we could do it here too. And as I said previously, I don't want to this isn't an action item. I don't want to send this up the chain yet because I do think it would be prudent for us to have some legal counsel on this before we send it up the chain.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm just wondering also if we would perhaps have communication with Freedom Resources, which is an advocacy group and does monitor accessibility issues around the city. So that would just be another step in the process of identifying allies and going forward. in addition to the legal resource.
Mr. Chairman, John Strand here. I have the transit portfolio. And Jacqueline, I think it'd be really good for us to initiate a conversation just to assess what their requirements are under federal and local and what their services are. And secondly, so if you reach out to me or you folks reach out to me, I'll help connect us to Julie Bommelman and her team at Transit, just to get that information as accurately as possible. Secondly, if I can do the same, or you can do the same with the state's, the city auditor, Steve Sprague, has recently approached the city commission and let us know they're revisiting the policies relative to taxis. This is the time to get our fingerprints on that process and input proactively. So Steve Sprague, the city auditor, is, to my knowledge, addressing that topic. And on other fronts, like how many vehicles do you need? Well, you're talking a specific type of vehicle. Great time to have that discussion. So thank you for this work.
Thank you. Other comments on that? And I think that's certainly a standing item that we can bring into working session as well. Okay, then from there, going into Cheryl Staples' topic on subcommittees.
When I look at the mission that we were given according to ordinance number 5338/15-0204, the goals of the Human Rights Commission are: A, to provide leadership in areas of civil rights; B, to encourage and educate the public in the promotion of civil rights; C, to identify issues of principal concern to members of the community in the area of civil rights, and to recommend priorities and objectives to the Board of City Commissioners; D, to encourage adherence to federal and state laws regarding civil rights, including Chapter 14-02.4 of the North Dakota Century Code through education, conciliation, and mediation. My recommendation is that we form committees from our members to pursue the different goals that we have been tasked with, so that we can systematically address the different goals that we have been given, that we were tasked with when the commission was formed. And so my recommendation and what I would like to, or the motion I would like to make, is that we today set up a task force or a small committee to look at what committees we need to meet our goals. And then have that committee come back and say, you know, we suggest or we recommend we have a committee on leadership, a committee on education for the public, a committee on legislative committee maybe. Those are simple suggestions. But so that we can fill out the needs of the committee and we can start systematically addressing our goals. So at this point, I would like to make a motion that we form a small committee today to look at forming the committees to do the work of our commission.
And so is there questions on that? Comments?
I have a question. Should we work on that in our working session?
Sorry, as a point of order, you want to get a second before we have discussion?
Excuse me.
Can I get a second on the item, please?
A second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Okay, I'm back. Should this be something that we work on in our working session? Because that would,
It has already been discussed in our working sessions, setting up committees and stuff, but nothing was done to actually form it. I think it would be simple to just set aside maybe 3 people to go over it and possibly bring their recommendations to the working committee, or bring their recommendations here for us to vote on.
That was kind of where yes, I think setting up a committee and then let them do the work and bring it back.
And that is what my motion is, to set up a committee to look at what, now it sounds a little convoluted, but to set up a committee to look at what committees would best serve us.
Right.
So that we can systematically reach our goals or address our goals.
Thank you for the clarification.
Was there any other discussion? Okay. Can I get a second on that motion?
It was already second. So you,
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that motion carries. So are we setting up?
I think you could just probably send out the email and have the members sign up for which committee they should.
Dr. Hogan and Ahmed can help me out with that then? Okay. Okay, we will move forward on that. Okay, next up is Barry Nelson and providing a legislative update.
Thank you. We as a body have had a tradition, as long as we've been existing, is that we have paid attention to not only what goes on in our city, but also what goes on in the halls of the legislature in Bismarck. And this is a particularly, I don't know how to characterize it. It's a busy session this time, particularly as it pertains to legislation that's impacting people that we are most concerned about. And so I'm going to do a quick overview of what has happened so far, and then suggesting that we develop a process. I think it's worked in the past, but I want to make sure it's in motion going forward, that we as individuals, as we as a commission, and in making proposals to the city of Fargo, take positions on some of these legislation proposals that are coming forward. So you probably have been watching. This session has taken a particular approach in ways that I think is very dangerous, in the sense that they are targeting one of the most vulnerable groups in our community, which are transgender children. Last count, we have anywhere from 15 to 18 bills addressing transgender children and other members of the LGBT community, and everything from restricting healthcare, restriction of participating in athletics, removing any kinds of requirements or even suggestions of using pronouns as preferred by students. In fact, there was a bill heard yesterday which literally, if passed, would erase all references to transgender and non-binary from North Dakota Century Code. So it is a barrage of bills coming at us on a regular basis. And so we're struggling. I should clarify that I'm with the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition, and we generally have tracked, and we do have a legislative coordinator in Bismarck who will testify and help arrange for testimony when these things come up. We've just never had the numbers that we've had to address this time. And so our organizational capability is being really taxed, because bills are heard before committee, then they go before the floor. If they pass one house, they move over to the second house. And so there's many, many steps to this process to keep people involved. And I think it is really critical that citizenry does become involved on this, both in watching what is going on, and I'll give you some information about how we can do that, as well as speaking out to the kinds of things that are happening. So I have a list here of bills that, as far as we know, is complete today, that have been introduced, although I just saw a reference this morning of another bill being introduced on the Senate side addressing, again, transgender children. You know, we've heard the comments that there's about a population of about 2,000, and to have this much attention placed upon them. And I talk about the dangerous aspect about it, is that transgender students particularly are very vulnerable. They have a high rate of suicidality because of bullying, because of lack of support, and so many other things that are coming at them. So to have this kind of attention placed on by policymakers is, in my mind, unconscionable. So we have to figure out how we address those. I wanted to mention 3 other bills, however, that I think begs our attention. One which was heard today is Senate Bill 2157, which we're keenly aware, we talked about this at this commission, about what happened in the primary election this last year, and that was then addressed in the general election in terms of where people, particularly people of color, were being required to prove citizenship in order to vote, and were being turned away illegally. And the Attorney General ruled that, no, you just ask the person and you accept their answer. You do not have to provide proof of citizenship. Well, the legislature thought, well, we'll fix that. So now there's a bill saying that everybody who goes to vote would have to prove their citizenship before voting. The Bill 2157 was heard in committee this morning. There were a number of organizations that testified as to why this would be a bad bill. It would affect all of us, that right now I can bring my driver's license, they can show the proof of my residency, and I can pretty effortlessly go in to vote. If this bill were to be passed as it now is, every time I go to vote, I'd have to bring a proof, maybe a birth certificate, a passport, whatever, in addition to my driver's license. So it places it upon all of us. And it's inherent, as we saw in the primary, that it was disproportionately affecting communities of color. So it just builds right into that. So we have to be paying really close attention to that. There is one bill that I think we could get behind, and that is the bill that would decriminalize HIV. I'm looking through my list here. I'm not seeing it pop right up at me, but that one is one that we could make sure is available. I want to reference 2 sources I think would be particularly good right now. One, Faye Seidler is an excellent resource. She does twice-a-day updates on what's happening at the legislature, and she invites people to contact her at fayeseidler@gmail.com. She also is a really excellent resource. She has really tracked the YRBS, which really shows the markers of students in K through 12, and really provides the data. We're not just talking out of the goodness of our heart about the dangers of suicidality within the trans community. We have data that's been gathered by our schools that show the disparate impacts on them. So she has reams of information there as well. I would also suggest that you all put in your starred, on your computer, legis.nd.gov. And that's really the page that will bring you into all kinds of ways to be able to track bills, and that you can find out who serves on committees. You can find out schedules of when bills are going to be heard. You can find out when the committee is being scheduled, they are recorded or live streamed, so you could actually watch it live in action when it's being shown. And they archive them, so you can also go back and watch committee hearings that have occurred prior to the current time. Then the other piece, which goes into what I'm recommending is action, I'm having 3 levels. Well, I mean, should I stop for questions?
I do have a question.
Okay, yes, I saw that.
Does the North Dakota Human Rights Commission, do they have a published list that we can access or go online and view? Like
It's
a
in
list of-
progress.
Okay. Because I would
I'm
be
embarrassed
very.
to say no right now, but that's our goal.
Yep. When are bills, when's the deadline for submitting bills? Has that passed yet, or are there still bills coming in?
The deadline for House members to pass or introduce bills occurred, I believe, yesterday. The deadline for the Senate, I believe, is on the 23rd of January. So
right.
there's still potential for bills to come. But the point is, we also have to stay really alert because because they can hognose bills and change them, and things happen throughout the session. So it's forever vigilant. Okay, so the three, I got 2 minutes, are that I think individual advocacy, and this is what I was providing all this information, that we all should take it upon ourselves to be tracking these bills. And it's a great question, Jacqueline. I think Faye would be the best resource right now to ask what bills are coming up. Every Friday, they announce the bills that are going to be heard the following week. So that's usually, around this time tomorrow, we will track to see what's going to come up in the coming week. And then the one final bill I wanted to talk about is that there is a hate or a bias crime bill that's going to be introduced again in the legislature. It was done in 2021, did not go anywhere. It's being introduced again by Representative Schneider and other individuals. So I would encourage that we get behind that bill as well. It really takes what the city passed as a hate crimes ordinance, and it's a much more effective way of addressing.
Do you have the number on that bill?
It hasn't come out of legislative council yet, so thank you. So what I would like is to make sure that we as a Human Rights Commission have a process which we can act nimbly and be able to submit testimony to Bismarck when these hearings are scheduled. It would be best, it would be even great. I know the city does have a lobbyist. If we could actually have somebody who could testify in person, we're told that has the most power. And I would also like to be able to put forward to the city of Fargo, and I could work with Commissioner Strand here, because the city of Fargo in the past has taken position on particular bills. Maybe you can't take positions on all 18 bills, but I think that we could suggest key ones. The anti-trans bill, I think, is a key one that we need to be very cognizant of. And the medical care bill is also one that we need to be very cognizant of. So this ends my information.
May I ask a question? Could we have a link to these resources put on our Facebook page?
I think I can work with Ahmed on that. Yes.
Thank you.
Can I make just 2 quick comments?
Yes.
I just also want to add, in addition to bookmarking the website that Barry mentioned, there is an app called, I think it's called North Dakota Legislative Daily, that shows you what bills are coming up. I'm still learning what's on it, but there is an app that is available so that you can see what's coming up each day. The other thing that I wanted to say with respect to the anti-trans bills is that I recently have seen a lot of these bills referred to as genocide, and I think it's reasonable to refer to legislation that is meant to erase people based on their identity as for what it is. So that's basically it.
Mr. Chair, just to add to that, I mean, it's more than just erasing people. Because right now, that particular bill that's been discussed, I think they started that yesterday. They even going to penalize teachers in the classroom for not referring to a person based on their preferred gender or something, like along that line. You'll be penalized and you have to pay a fine. So it's much more than just erasing a group of people.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I also get emails from Faye, and on Tuesday I went to a meeting that was held by Ray, and I forget exactly what this stands for. But we were given information on how to, specifically for the bill to change the century code, on how to go in and give testimony. And I did that for that bill when I got home that evening. And it's a very simple procedure. And so I'm not sure how we can get everybody on like Faye's list, because she had the instructions on how to do it too that she sent out. To get everybody on the list so you can get the emails and the instructions on when testimony needs to be given.
Perhaps staff could find that out and then send it to all of us?
We can work on it.
Yeah, that would be very easy to be done.
Okay, and we do want to look at having these updates and monthly through the legislative session. So thank you all for that. I do want to get to public comment as well. For 11, I was just going to provide an update on the MLK Day celebration, just that it happened. It was pretty exciting. We had a full house at the Fargo Theater, and we're very appreciative of Fred's Dissonance and for curating the event and putting it together. We had some really amazing performances throughout it, and I think that it was just a great event to have. And we will start looking forward to creating next year's, probably in the spring or summer of this year then. Looking at March or April to start putting that together. In terms of announcements for number 12, my only, no, that was Cheryl's. Yeah. I want to look at a working session on Wednesday, February 1st, just throwing it out there for commissioners to look at. Well, we can talk about that later on. For number 13, do any staff have updates?
None.
Perfect. Let's go into public comment then, because I know we have a few people who wanted to do that. Who was the first one?
Okay, the first comment would be from Francis, Miss Francis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Frances Salvatore. I'm honored to be here. I'm a 74-year-old senior and I can't afford a car. I depend totally on public transportation. The problem is many times I walk. Senior Ride Service, Nat Paratransit, Handy Wheels, and the Fargo City Bus Fixed Routes all have limitations on what they can do and where they can go. On short notice to go to the grocery store, bank, post office, or an appointment, most seniors have to take a taxi. Taxis are expensive. Most of the seniors' needs are at night, weekends, and on holidays. Many of us seniors are on a fixed income and have transportation needs on short notice. Walking is not an option in this weather. If we fall when going outside, we are worse off than if we would have stayed at home. Taxis aren't always an option. When going to the ER, there are certain circumstances that the taxi won't take you. Friends and neighbors aren't obligated and for us because they are not responsible for us. There are many circumstances that seniors just stay home, and staying home bound isn't always a healthy option for us. I'm standing before you this afternoon advocating for inexpensive, safe transportation for seniors when it is most needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis.
Reverend Karen Van Fossen.
Hello, it's good to see you. My name is Reverend Karen Van Fossen. My pronouns are she and her. I am Director of Authentic Ministry here in Fargo. I am a fan of Project Ray. Rainbows are inclusive. I just couldn't resist taking a couple of my seconds to share that. I'm here again out of deep concern that I believe many, if not all of you on the Human Rights Commission share regarding the death of Shane Netterville this past summer. And as I've been following the heartfelt and sometimes confusing work of this body, it seems that you have made some effort to call for some independent inquiry, and that's been a confusing process, I think, for all of us. There's been some effort to ask the U.S. Attorney to pay some close attention to what's at play here. And I'm not sure where that process is either. I have hope that the working group and the committees of this commission will help this commission really do the work that I trust that you feel called to do. And the reason that I'm here today is that when I had spoken some time ago to this body, I had come in with an idea of what was possible, and I made some very tangible requests about that. And now I'm not really sure what is possible, except I do believe that together with community input, this body can determine that. And so I'm here to ask you if you might consider following some wisdom of solidarity that's been taught to me by many wise people of many cultures across my life in this work, which is to ask ourselves, who are we most accountable to? And who are the people urging us to do one thing or another or nothing, also most accountable to? I believe that would be Shane Netterville and his family in this case. Thank you.
Christopher Coyne.
Christopher Cohn, Fargo resident, pronouns he, him, his. Yeah, so I'm here to discuss that same topic. And so I was here at a session where it was one of the commission members here did talk about, bring up the subject of this commission writing a letter to the U.S. Attorney regarding that killing. And the city attorney was here and suggested, no, you don't need to do that because that's not under your purview. That would go before the police advisory and oversight committee. And then I went to that commission and she talked them out of doing anything over there either. So she said to them, in fact, you don't even need to have anybody do an independent investigation because I don't know what kind of bias they might have, which is a statement of not knowing. But that's not how they took it. In conversation, that sounds like you think there might be bias by somebody coming in and doing independent investigation. And in fact, that's what one of the members said right after she spoke, said, yeah, I don't think I'll vote for an independent investigation because those organizations, they might be biased, or those firms might be biased. So they all voted against an independent investigation. So they're not doing anything. So I was just thinking, I was just wondering why it's not come back here and why there's no action being taken, because anybody can write a letter to the U.S. Attorney. And we're losing a lot of months now. So the killing was in July. And here, by the way, I did write a letter myself because anyone can write a letter. And I got a letter back about a month later, and it said they turned me down. They said, sorry, your letter to us didn't contain enough details. And I put every detail I knew that there was, every fact of the case that I knew, like exactly when it happened. I went and looked up the address, which wasn't in the media, because I went on and got like Google shots off of there and looked on garages and things. I put every bit of detail I knew, and they turned it down for that. Thanks.
Victoria Johnson.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, my name is Victoria. I am here today to talk to you about a project that my organization and other few organizations are working on, and hope that this board will support and maybe become a sponsor. A few months ago, I was given an opportunity by a national organization to attend a training, de-escalation and crisis prevention. Through that, I learned a lot. And I had a conversation with the doctor who provided that training and said, would you be open to come to our city and provide that kind of training to not just a professional, but also to the public? And he was agreeable to do so. But when you bring somebody like that, it costs money. So I met with an organization and I shared my idea with them of my experience, and they went and shared with another organization. Soon I found myself sitting around 4 other organizations who are very interested and believe it's really needed in our community. And so we are planning to bring that training in our community, and we will like to have it free of charge to the community if we have the sponsorship. If we don't, then we have to charge people for it. The idea is to actually just open it to everybody who can attend. There will be a CEU available for professionals who need a continual education. So that's something that we can promise through the program, through the project and the training. And so there'll be 2 parts. There'll be one in April, and the second one will be in summer. And that one will be actually a workshop. So I'm asking this commission, and hopefully you guys will be open to sponsor. And if you need more information and want to have a discussion with the group that are working on this, I will be happy to meet with their executive teams and set up a Zoom meeting. We can all get together and talk about it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
No.
No? All right. Any other business? No? Hearing none, this meeting of the Human Rights Commission stands adjourned. Our next meeting is scheduled for sometime in February. I believe February 16th at noon. Take care.